This video was brought to you by AAA Cartoons. This educative video tells you what you need to know about cardiovascular disease. This term covers a range of medical conditions that are the result of atherosclerosis. This is a process in which arteries all around the body are affected, causing them to narrow or to dilate. The latter is what we call an aneurysm. Arteries are important to transport oxygen and nutrients around the body. The brain, all organs, and all muscles in our body need oxygen as fuel. The oxygen-depraved blood is transported to the heart, where it travels back and forth to the lungs for a fresh load of oxygen. The heart then pumps it back to all the organs and muscles to fuel them again. It's important to realize that the first exit the blood takes is back to the heart, because that in fact is also no more than a large muscle. When the arteries here, the coronaries, are affected, it's called cardiac or heart disease, which is treated by a cardiologist and a heart surgeon. When the arteries to the rest of the body are affected, it's called peripheral arterial disease. This includes the carotid artery and subsequent stroke, the aorta and the abdominal organs, and arteries that run through arms and legs. This group of diseases are treated by specialists in vascular medicine and by vascular surgeons. Now, to make cardiovascular disease easier to understand, let's portray the heart and lungs as a giant oxygen factory. The arteries are sort of the highways over which oxygen transportation takes place. The red blood cells are the couriers of oxygen along those highways. In this metaphor, it's clear to see the importance of a good balance between oxygen supply and demand. If the necessary oxygen to fuel the whole body can be produced by the factory, we all live happily ever after. If, however, the demand becomes much higher than the supply, due to stress or undergoing surgery, for instance, the factory can get in trouble. Because the hard-working factory also burns a lot of oxygen itself, this could lead to a lot of stress to the heart, which could cause a heart attack. As mentioned before, the arteries are the highways that make for proper oxygen transportation. You will understand that good maintenance of those highways is of critical importance. Over the years, there's a risk of poor maintenance, however. The most important risk factors for poor road maintenance are smoking, high cholesterol, obesity and diabetes, and high blood pressure. Furthermore, an advanced age poses a risk. You will understand this fellow will do a poor job by the age of 70 in comparison to when he was still in his 20s. A medical history of stroke or heart attack also increases the risk. If, under his care, roads have gotten damaged before, he's quite likely to mess up road maintenance again someday. And finally, family history of cardiovascular disease is of importance. If this guy's father and grandfather were terrible road workers, there's obviously little talent for proper road maintenance running in the family. In case of poor maintenance, there's an increased risk of a reduced number of lanes on the highway that allow for proper transportation. You could think of overgrowth of roadside vegetation or direct damage to the asphalt. These things serve as an example for clogged arteries due to atherosclerosis. In this case, a plaque can build up in the wall of the artery, which can consist of a fatty mass, or it could be hard and calcified. Due to an inflammatory trigger, it can become unstable and rupture, as you see in the fourth slice. And it could also become a rendezvous for blood clots that could close up the artery entirely, or to shoot emboli and cause a complete roadblock further downstream. Another hazard of poor road maintenance, or atherosclerosis, is that the road could sag under the pressure, that is, the blood pressure, as you see happening to this bridge. This serves as a metaphor for a dilated artery, or aneurysm, as we call it. An aneurysm has two major consequences. The first is the turbulence that arises from the dilated wall. This leads to the formation of blood clots, which can shoot downstream and block the road to the legs and feet. However, the most important risk of an aneurysm is that the wall could keep sagging and finally rupture, allowing for all the blood to run off the road, often with fatal consequences. This concludes our video on cardiovascular disease and the most important risk factors and consequences of atherosclerosis. AAA Cartoons also has videos on the most important drugs you will receive against atherosclerosis and the different treatment strategies for affected carotid arteries, aorta, and the arteries to legs and feet. Keep in touch through YouTube or Twitter in order not to miss these videos.